Good afternoon again, everybody. We are looking at a very shocking day for AMC. It's a very surprising day. If you remember the video that we made just a few hours ago this morning, we were talking about a situation where AMC was up 10+% in the $16 range. Now, honestly, it's very surprising that the price has come down now to the range of the $14 mark. We're seeing 14.46 towards the end of day, leaving us up by 0.3% down to 0.1 now. And that is quite astonishing to go from 10% up to down so much. Now I want to take a moment to talk about this and talk about my personal views on it. Now, the first thing that I want to do is quickly go over the price action. It really was astonishing, the price action that we've seen today. Looking at the chart simply, we see the morning and the contrast into the afternoon. So this is where today started. We had that massive gap up, taking us to 16 immediately, and then from that point, well, the first 10 to 15 minutes absolutely plummeted us. It was shocking to watch. We hit our lows around the 14 mark, that was back here. Since then we've been building up slowly, but really we've not gained that momentum again. Absolutely shocking. Now, key things I want to highlight before we dive into this one deeper for today is going to be the volume figure that we saw, which was 96 million so far, so just under 100 million volume, and that alone is quite astonishing. Now, the volume is high, and the price action and the price move is also astonishing, but I do think this day was one which we should remember, because it was looking so positive to begin with. Now, what I really think this is about more than anything is mindset, mind games once more, because a lot of apes now know where AMC is, and the data is becoming more and more revealing. We'll have a look at the short interest data in a moment, but first let's talk about the mindset which we are seeing. Well, as I always say, we shouldn't get our hopes up for the MOAS too much because nobody knows what it's going to be. But after a shocking week last week where we saw AMC's price absolutely rocket, a lot of people had big hopes for the pre-market, and like you said this morning, I did. Now, the hopes I had for pre-market were absolutely blown out of the water. It was even better than I could have expected. But then what we saw in the first 15 minutes, it absolutely was the opposite of that. A lot of people thought this morning could be the MOAS, and it definitely could have been. It was certainly a contender of a day. And then to drop it like that so quickly, I think it is all about trying to get people to sell. Now, is it going to work? Definitely not, in my opinion, because whilst the price action shows one thing, two things are also true. One is the data that we're going to look at in a moment, because it is still very revealing, and of course, on top of that, the price action in the past week. So to look at the past 5 days in comparison to today, we still see that massive incline. So don't think that this day where we're seeing neutral movement for AMC is really going to shock anybody, although on a price level it was a bit of a surprise to see it come down so much. But that's not the thing that I want to reflect on in this video. I want to take a minute to look at the short interest data. So once again, JD Ruckus, the Ortex guy on Reddit, has brought us the data for the short interest today. This is a midday update posted 3 hours ago, and we can see that Ortex data is still very shocking, but we'll have a read of his quote first. Ortex guy here with your update for today in the midday. We see the short interest closing up on 23, whilst the shares on loan are at an all-time high. Utilization is at 100% for the 78th day, and the days to cover and cost to borrow are rising. So let's have a look at that data and break it down, because he is absolutely right once more. We'll get up both of the pages and break them down. We'll start on this one, the more generalized data. Now, the first figure which screams out to me is going to be this. Now, the cost to borrow minimum is very low, at 1.5% almost. But that's okay, because the cost to borrow maximum is 14.9, so about 15%. Now, these figures don't really mean anything on their own. The real figure that we want to know is what is the average that is being paid for the cost to borrow. And at the moment, that figure is all the way up at 10.36. So more than 10% for the cost to borrow. That definitely is a big spike, and it is the theme that we are seeing over time. The cost to borrow is increasing as time goes on. That is very exciting, because it shows that over time, whilst we are still holding our stock, we don't have to pay to do that. But the shorts have to pay this cost to borrow fee, and it is mounting up over time. Now, key details for today also include the things like the short interest change, which is a decrease of 0.36, the return shares being 2.25 million, the borrowed being 1.22, so clearly the borrowed change is minus 1.03. But don't fear, because the Autex estimated SI of free float is still at 22.78, and the current SI as a number of shares is expected to be 117.44 million. Now, the second page of data is this. It shows us the roundup of figures and how they've changed in the past 7 days. So yeah, we have a look at what we're seeing, and we're seeing things like the overall value of SI increasing by 24%. That is a big deal. Other things which have increased pretty significantly is the cost to borrow, and this is what people, I think, are forgetting. Look at this change figure down here. 61% increase. It's more than 50%. It's really spiking. And that's, of course, in the last 7 days. And I do expect this one will probably continue to rise. Now, we can have a look at the other details, but honestly, you can see them on your screen, and I don't want to bore you guys with all of them when we simply don't need to. But the fact of the matter which I'm trying to point out should be obvious to you. The price action today was disheartening, of course, but really, as usual, the price is only half of the story. Look behind the curtain and see what there is to see, and you'll see that nothing has changed for the worse. It's all just getting stronger, better, and more in our favour. So I'm feeling very positive for the rest of the week, no matter what the price does. But I do still think we are in a great realm to see this one still end the week pretty green. Now, will I be right? I don't know. It's all just my personal view, so don't take it as any more than that. But if you did enjoy this short video, make sure to subscribe. I'll be back with you guys later for more, but for now, it's a goodbye.